hung up on the headlines and still moving forward because, as you know, I'm passionate about real estate still making sense for many, many reasons. But anyway, congrats on that. So to answer your question, on the outside, 6-7 months, I think it's 7 payments. I think some programs require, but most don't have a waiting period. Now, if you're going to use an FHA loan and you're going to flip to an FHA Streamline or what's called an EARL with a VA loan, it's a straight interest rate reduction. There's a period with FHA. It's, I think, 210 days, 215 or 210. I'm doing this from memory, but in that instance, you're talking less than a year. And the reality is rates are not going to dip down within that time period. So by the time rates move for you to make it make sense, you should be in the clear. But again, happy to dive deeper if you have additional questions. And you know what? I'll research the exact number on the different loan programs and post that to the Facebook page so everybody has it. Just hit Facebook, and up in the upper left-hand corner of the Facebook page, you'll see a little search bar. If you type in The Mr. Mortgage Show, you'll find the Facebook page, and there there'll be a lot more data supporting my answers. But I'll specifically post things to the timelines for refi if that helps. So hopefully that gets you started. If you have more questions, I encourage you to reach out. But let's keep it rolling. What else do we have, Dom?
All right. Steve wants to know, my father just passed and has left everything to me and my 4 brothers. I want to buy my dad's house. Is this possible?
Wow. If I heard Dom right, Steve, you grew up with 4 brothers. I bet you guys were the bad boys on the block. I grew up in a neighborhood, and there was one kid who was from a group of 5 brothers. And when he stomped off the basketball court and said, "You guys are in trouble, I'm going home to get my brother," we all left because he wasn't coming back with just one, and they were some tough kids. So anyway, you just brought back a memory for me, Steve. But hey, first of all, my condolences on your dad's passing. Yes, this is certainly doable. There's a few things to consider with this, but I'm going to use the assumption that okay, just made some notes. There's 5 of you total. So I don't know what else the estate has, so I can't speak to this in great detail, but let's just break it down to the house. And you are 1/5, assuming all the kids are equal heirs, you own 1/5 of that property as far as the estate's concerned. So you already have 20% equity in the property. So this should be a fairly easy transaction for you to take an 80% loan against that property, and you're essentially buying it using your equity position in the estate as the down payment. So to answer your question, yes, certainly doable. There's a lot more that I would need to know because sometimes there's other assets in the estate, and if you're the only one that wants the house and your other brothers want to split the other assets and take your portion of that, you may be able to walk with the house free and clear or a much lower loan amount. But that's something to speak to the probate attorney about. We do this all the time. We're in the middle of 2 of these transactions right now where an heir is basically refinancing a property that they inherited from the estate. So certainly doable. I would need a little more information, and I'm happy to walk you through it. So I encourage you to hit us up during the week at 561-291-8569. Oh, I hear the sirens coming up behind me, so that means we're going to step into another break. We'll be back in 2 minutes to take more of your questions. Those questions, shoot them to us at 561-291-8569. That's 561-291-8569. Or visit us online at www.mr.mortgage. That's mr.mortgage with no .com. Never type in the .com, just mr.mortgage. We'll be right back in 2 minutes. Hey, it's Mark Eitel here, host of the Mr. Mortgage Show. And you've heard me talk about the valuation tool that we use in our lending practice almost daily. It's not quite an appraisal, but it's way more accurate than one of those online estimates. And we're happy to run one of those reports for you at no charge. Just visit freevaluereport.org. That's freevaluereport.org. Give us a little information about the property, and we'll be happy to send you your report. That's freevaluereport.org.
Here's another 5-star review. We kept our business above water with credit cards during the pandemic. I'm glad we did, business is better than ever. But I didn't want to be a slave to those credit card payments. I called Mark about the rec loan he advertises. Long story short, we did a rec refinance and paid off everything, even the car. Now we only have the mortgage payment. We're saving a bunch every month. Yes, we are happy to recommend Mark and the Mr. Mortgage team.
It's not every day that you need an appraisal, whether it's for a divorce settlement, estate planning, or maybe you're appealing a tax assessment, or you just want to make sure you have adequate coverage in your property insurance. When you need a certified appraisal, turn to my friends at SOFLappraisal.com. That's SOFLappraisal.com. Peter and his team have been appraising properties here in South Florida for decades. SOFLappraisal.com. And tell them you heard this on the Mr. Mortgage Show.
Are inflation and everyday expenses eating into your retirement income? Maybe you've considered a reverse mortgage and have unanswered questions like, do I still own my property? Can the bank kick me out? What happens when I die? Can I still leave my house to my kids? These are all great questions. Visit www.moreaboutreverse.com to learn more. That's www.moreaboutreverse.com. www.moreaboutreverse.com.
Welcome back to the Mr. Mortgage Show. Call us now, 561-291-8569.
All right, we are back. My name is Mark Eitel, host of the Mr. Mortgage Show. And yes, shoot us your questions to 561-291-8569. You can call or text that number, so don't be shy. Just fire away with your questions. And you can hit us on the website at www.mr.mortgage. That's Mr. Or if you want a deeper dive into the world of Mr. Mortgage and the shenanigans that go on during the week, visit the Facebook page, The Mr. Mortgage Show. You'll find us there on Facebook. So we're going to keep rolling with your questions. I know Dom just gave me the signal that we have another one teed up.
Yes, Claudia just emailed us. She's asking, I may be crazy, but I thought I remembered you talking about when I could show my cars paid by my company and not me to help my chances.
Hey, that's a great question. So, yeah, here's the story with that. And we did talk about that. If you own your vehicle, which is not uncommon, in your name, but your company, most small business owners do this, will pay the car payment, especially if you're using it for your business, out of the business account. So technically that's a business expense, but when we are underwriting you for a mortgage, it shows up on your credit report. So if the company is paying for your car, in order for us to pull that out of your debt to income ratio, which is what I believe you're talking about, the company will have needed to pay that and will need to document it for 12 months. So that the same goes if you co-signed a car for your sister, your brother, your child, your nephew. He's or she is going to have made that payment for 12 months. So in your case, the company, we're going to look at the company making the payment for the previous 12 months, document that, and then we can pull that out of your debt to income ratio. Here's one caveat that everybody misses. It's super frustrating. I talk about this all the time with industry friends. It makes no sense. As soon as you buy a new vehicle, that 12-month period starts over. So if you're leasing a vehicle for your business and you turn it in and you lease another one, that 12-month clock starts when the new debt is acquired. So if you can buy it in your company name, it makes it easier. But if you buy it in your name, just know that it's going to be 12 months from the day you bought that particular vehicle. And sadly, it doesn't matter if you've been doing it that way for 20 years. And can show 20 years of history. That clock resets with the new debt. So hopefully that answers your question. 12 months documentable, someone else making the payment, in this instance, your company, then we can pull it out of your personal debt to income ratio when qualifying you. So hopefully that helps. If you need more info about that, you know how to get us. So I'm going to throw it back to Dom.
All right, we have Roland just called with this one. He says his agent said his condo is not warranted, so it's going to be harder to sell. Can't the buyer get a home warranty on a used home? He thinks he's misunderstanding something. Any thoughts?
Hey, Roland. So, yeah, I do think you're misunderstanding and I might be wrong. But what I believe your agent is meaning by what he or she is telling you is that the condo is non-warrantable, not that it doesn't have a warranty. And what warrantable versus non-warrantable basically means is whether the property is eligible to be financed by a conventional loan. And a conventional loan allows for the smallest down payment and often the most favorable interest rates, with the exception of a government loan. Sometimes a condo is eligible for an FHA loan, so it may apply in those instances too. But to answer your question, I think what you're referring to is non-warrantable. And what that means is it doesn't meet the requirements of Fannie and Freddie for a conventional loan product. And what the warrantable versus non-warrantable covers, and this is something I guess every condo owner really should know, is they're looking at things like the number of units that are owner-occupied or second homes in your complex. So they don't want a bunch of rental properties. And we saw this happen in the local area after the bubble burst in the early 2000s. We saw people going in and buying a significant number of units in a building that had gone into foreclosure, and they were putting recovery centers in the building, for lack of a better word. And they might have 15 units in this condo building that they opened up as treatment centers. And now it was very difficult for people to buy and sell within that building, because nothing against anyone going through treatment. I commend you on taking that step to get clean, but it's not the most desirable circumstance to live next door to. So in those instances, there were a large percentage of the building that was owned by, in this instance, a treatment center, or it doesn't matter. It could just be an owner that rents them all out. If the number of the units exceeds the guideline, then it's not warrantable. If there's a large number of units with delinquent dues, that will make it non-warrantable. They want to make sure that the association is healthy and they're collecting dues and they're maintaining the building. Hey, we saw what happened in the Surfside collapse, which I believe has almost been a year at the date of this show. So maintaining a building is super important. So if there's delinquent dues, there's not money for maintenance. So that's something that's looked at when a building is being classed as warrantable or non-warrantable. And then another big thing that we see with the older buildings is not enough of the dues are going for reserves, because we all know that even doing our best, if we're trying to forecast the expense of a new roof in 20 years, we don't know what that roof's going to cost. So there's a calculation, and it's often 10%. They want the Fannie and Freddie want 10% of the dues collected to go into escrow accounts for future expenditures for maintenance. So those are a lot of things that go into the evaluation of a condo to see if it's warrantable or non-warrantable. And that may be what he or she is speaking to, is that it's not warrantable for whatever, a litany of reasons. And in that, if that's the case, then it may be more difficult to sell, because to buy a non-warrantable condo, you need to put a larger down payment down and pay a higher interest rate. There are lenders out there that'll take the risk, but they're typically going to look for a 25% down payment. And then the interest rate associated with a non-warrantable purchase is going to be most often higher than a conventional loan product. So I hope that answers the question. I think what they're referring to is warrantable or non-warrantable. And the way to determine that is to go through the full condo questionnaire procedure to make sure that maybe he or she is wrong and your building is warrantable. But I think that's what she's speaking to. And I'm happy to answer any additional questions that you have regarding that, because it's a big topic right now. Post the Surfside building collapse, there has been, what was that called? The Champlain Towers in Surfside, Miami. There's been kind of a reboot of the condo questionnaire in general, and they're asking more specific questions to maintenance, to budgets, to deferred maintenance primarily. And if the association refuses to answer the question, they're even auditing the minutes of the previous meetings to see if there's any reference in those minutes of deferred maintenance because they're taking this very seriously. So I'm guessing she's talking about warrantable versus non-warrantable, but I don't know. If you have more questions regarding that, give me a shout. I'll be happy to dissect that for you because it can be